Back in 2011, I had the opportunity to train at an animation studio, and I got to see firsthand how the pros in the business do it, and it opened my eyes to a whole bunch of mistakes I didn't even know I was making. So today, I'm sharing the 5 biggest mistakes I used to make as a beginner. I'm also going to share some tips and tricks on how to avoid making these mistakes in the future. If you have watched a speed painting video before, it's easy to think that professional artists are just winging it. But let me tell you, that's not the case. There's a whole lot more that goes into it than meets the eye. And guess what? The biggest mistake most beginners make is skipping this crucial first step, and you're drawing everything straight on. When you do this, you're throwing any planning out of the window, and that's not really good because you won't see how to put the details properly. Even if you say you're imagining something in your mind, it's actually surprisingly difficult to turn that into something tangible that you can see without prior planning and research. What happens is it's gonna turn out not the way you're imagining it, and you're gonna think you suck when it's not true. In addition to that, you're overwhelming your brain with all the details you'd like to have in the drawing. This will result in confusion as you don't really know where to focus on first, and what will happen is you're gonna mess up the proportion, everything will look wonky, misaligned, the list goes on. The solution? Do some research before you start drawing. Look for references, create a mood board, and just do a quick layout so that you can see how the composition looks. Draw a simple stickman to establish the poses of the character. I have created so many videos about all this, so you can check out the eye icon on the top of the screen to learn more. Let me know in the comments if this happened to you before. You drew your character and zoomed in so that you can draw in the juicy details. After you are done, you zoomed out and the character's proportion ended up all wrong. What happens when we zoom in is that we lose sight of the whole picture. When you're zoomed in, it kinda skews your perception, making you think that you're drawing big because it fills your screen. But in reality, it's very small when you zoom out to the entire thing. The solution to this is to create a construction of the body first using basic shapes. Something like this so that you can have a grasp of proportion and foreshortening of the character. That way, when you zoom in on the work on the details, you have a guide on how big the object is when zoomed out. A good habit to have is simply zooming out the drawing from time to time just to double check if the proportions are still correct. Moving on, this is one of the most common mistakes I noticed based on the amount of drawings I've seen in my career. This mistake is not applying volume to your character's drawing. Main examples are sleeves, really anything that's wrapped around the arms and legs. If you don't pay attention to the volume, it can make your characters look flat, like they are cardboard. I hate to say this, but it does make the drawing look amateur when you don't have a grasp of volume. If you're hoping to have a professional career in art, that will be one of the first things the checkers and directors will notice. In a previous video, I explained thoroughly how volume works, so go check the description to learn more. When you're constructing your character using basic shapes, what you can do is draw ovals like this inside of the shape. This is the simplified version of the spiral method. To be honest, I'm not really a fan of that because it's just so messy, and it can get confusing when you're drawing the details. Drawing this serves as a guideline on how you should wrap the clothing around. Another thing you can do is draw the basic shapes of the clothing first so that you won't get confused with the extra details the clothing has, and you could nail the volume better. Let's move on to inking. There's a huge misconception here where inking, or cleanup as I'd like to call it, is merely just tracing the sketch. However, when you do this, what will happen is the shape and lines will look wonky and wobbly, especially if you're doing thin lines and your sketch lines are so thick. Instead of merely tracing, what you should do is improve the drawing even if you deviate from the sketch. Like for this example right here, it's best to focus on getting a solid shape rather than following the sketch. Do you see the difference between tracing and improving? It can take a lot of practice, but if you just keep up the improvement mindset, you'll be able to ink your drawing like an absolute champ. This one took me a while to get over. I remember being afraid of using dark colors for shading because I'm afraid I might make a mistake and the drawing will end up looking bad. Because of that, my coloring ends up looking bland and flat like this old artwork of mine. The solution: plan where to put the shading first. Just draw a line where the shading would start. Another thing you can do is use a different hue than your base color for shading. What do I mean by this? Say this is the base color of the skin. Let's use the eyedropper tool to get the color, and let's open our color palette. You see this slider on the side? This is the hue slider. We're just moving this to blue, for example. It's the most common hue to use for shading. Then we're gonna move this node right here. If we move it to the rightmost side, it's gonna be saturated, so we're gonna position it to the left side a bit. But we have to be careful not to move it on the leftmost side as well, as we'll end up with gray. Okay, let's use this color to shade the skin. Look how much better it is compared to using the same hue for the shading. If I don't have any lighting in mind, I would usually do the 11 o'clock shade. Basically what it is that you will position your light at the 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock position of your character so that the shadow is slightly slanted. Try it out! To help you avoid these mistakes, I have created a simple 5-step system for drawing characters to help you with planning, constructing the body, adding the clothing, and so forth. Click this video on the right to learn more.